Well, here to analyse IAG's chances of taking over the skies, I'm joined by John Strickland, Director of JLS Consulting. John, thanks for coming in to see us this morning. AIG begins trading today and, it's up a little bit. How significant is this merger? I mean, how successful is it going to be? Is it all about efficiency savings, or is there more to it than that?
It's partly efficiency savings, and it's partly also for British Airways and Iberia getting back to being on a level playing field. They have significant competition with two other big groupings in Europe, Air France KLM and Lufthansa, both of which are now larger airlines through mergers than they were in previous years. And they're also fighting two alliance groups. British Airways and Iberia are part of a one-world alliance, but their competitors are in the Sky team and the Star Alliance. On top of that, there's competition from the Middle East and Asia with big airlines such as Emirates and Qatar Airways and Etihad as well. So they had to get a level of scale from which efficiencies will flow, but also from which they can compete in terms of their schedule, pricing and product.
Now, if they want to really compete globally, they are going to have to look at mergers, aren't they, outside of Europe?
Yes, and they've already made this clear that they've hardly, as it were, concluded this deal. Then they had their shopping list, and they're looking for possibly about 12 other partners. They're talking about quite an innovative way of working. They're looking at a multi-brand structure where, although the airlines would come together in a financial sense and in terms of, again, a negotiating power and efficiencies in scheduling, they will look to partners to join the two that are there already, BA and Iberia, but with separate brands. This is something fairly new in the airline business. It has happened with Air France KLM, and in many ways BA and Iberia have learned from that. They see that consumers don't want to be necessarily confused by having a new name. They're not going out today selling IAG, which no one has heard of. They're keeping the names which people are familiar with and are willing to trust their travel plans to.
How far on do you think they are? I mean, have we really got any in-depth detail about which carriers they're going for, where they are, and how far down the line they are with those negotiations?
They themselves, as you would imagine, haven't said anything specifically. They've only indicated they have a shopping list. There's been a lot of speculation, perhaps not surprisingly, about many of the world's growth markets, Latin America, where we see a lot of activity in terms of economic development and hence airline activity such as Brazil, Asia as well, and some of the airlines who are already partners in this alliance, for One World Alliance, could themselves be candidates. But we also could see them going outside of the traditional bounds of legacy carriers and perhaps recruiting low-cost carriers into that grouping as well. We've seen it in the alliance sense already.
So it's going to be an interesting time.
Absolutely.
Now, Unite on Friday said that their members, they balloted the members and decided that they would be able to go ahead and have more strikes. But do you think they're likely to negotiate first?
I think really that's the only sensible way forward to conclude a negotiation which actually works. It seemed that they were close to that at the end of last year, and we also have to look at the result. The number of people who voted out of the total union workforce was fairly high, but we actually see that the number of people in terms of BA's total cabin crew workforce who voted for potential yes was a minority.
Still a minority,
over half the crew are not in favour. Negotiation is the only sensible thing. If we look at the way BA and Iberia are developing today, there's a lot of opportunity, but nevertheless they're combating a really tough market, low-cost competition, short haul and quality services, long haul.
And how much is still on the table as far as BA are concerned, or have they given all the concern?
I think there's nothing else on the table. There may be some scrambling around between the two sides about this issue of staff travel. And then again, that's the important thing, that the original points of dispute are actually in place in terms of the key efficiencies that BA was looking for. BA, you could say, only did what it promised to do. It undertook its threat of taking away staff travel. It has already given it back in basic form. So to be having a strike now, or the threat of a strike 15 months really after this dispute began, and in a wider economic climate that is particularly challenging, not least for jobs in many sectors of the economy, it really does seem out of kilter.
Now, oil prices, we're seeing a rise in oil prices, and are we expecting to see a knock-on effect that will be passed on to the consumer, do you think, as far as BA and Iberia are concerned?
Well, on the one hand, it's very difficult for airlines to pass on these price increases because the market is, generally speaking, weak and very competitive. On the other, British Airways themselves, late last year, already implemented a recent fuel surcharge increase, and a number of airlines around the world are now saying that with this rising trend again in oil prices, they will have to pass it on. But they have to play the difficult balance between passing it on and stifling the very demand which they need to bring in the revenue.
Indeed. OK, well, we'll keep a close eye on the new BA-Iberia. Thanks very much indeed, John, for coming in.